Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the Matricom G-Box Q3. This is an Android TV box that features Nougat 7.1 and retails for under $100. It has a quad-core ARM logic processor clocked at 1.5 GHz, and it also has a pentacore GPU, the Mali 450, coupled with 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of built-in flash storage. It also features Qualcomm's 5G dual-band Wi-Fi, and there's also Bluetooth built on in. So as an Android TV box, this would make sense if you have an older television or if you have a monitor and you want to convert it into something that is capable of streaming media such as through Netflix or YouTube, and it does play back video up to 4K resolution. It also has access to the Google Play Store, which allows you to download quick games as well as other video streaming apps that you would want to use. As the name suggests, this is actually the third generation version of the company's TV box, and so they've improved on the hardware primarily, and there's also a skin on top of Android that makes navigation slightly easier on a remote-based device. So here's the remote. It looks very similar to many TV boxes we've checked out before, and it uses just an IR port on the top. You can navigate up, down, left, and right, and bring up a cursor for on-screen navigation. It also has the Android keys on the bottom here. The bottom here also has access to the battery compartment, and it takes two AAA batteries, which are included in the box, which is a pretty nice bonus. So you'll see the battery inside here, along with the power cable for the G-Box 3, and this is using a proprietary port. I do wish it was using micro USB, but it is what it is. And there's also a free HDMI cable that's included. Taking a look at the design of the box, it is actually fairly modern and sleek looking, although it is made entirely out of this glossy piano black surface that attracts fingerprints and dust pretty easily, but it looks very sleek. The G logo on the top here actually is backlit, and it will light up when it's turned on, which is very cool, especially in the dark. And on the sides here, you have access just to the ports, including two USB 2.0 ports, so you can connect a flash drive or a hard drive if you want to sideload apps or media content. There's the HDMI port, and I'm also noticing a full-sized SD card slot, which is kind of rare these days. So here's what the backlit logo looks like. We're booting into Android for the first time. Interestingly, the first thing that tells us to do is pair the remote by tapping on these two keys together and holding for a few seconds until the red sensor begins to flash, and there's actually a light on the top of the remote, as you can see there. Next, we have the ability to rescale the display, which is actually very interesting. So if you want to only have it show up, let's say at a small portion of the screen, you can actually do this by using the zoom bar. So here's the Matricom skin on top of Android 7.0 Nougat. It definitely makes sense on a TV or a projector screen just because it's easier to click these larger icons than on something like a smartphone. We have access on the left here to a bar that's sorted and categorizes our apps. For instance, our home screen looks like this. We also have our video apps here. So we have Film on TV, which is another streaming service, in addition to Hulu, HBO, Tube TV, which are all built right on in. That will take us to the browser. And there's also music apps that are built on in here as well, such as Pandora, SoundCloud, and Spotify. And under regular apps is where we see some traditional browsers, including the Google Play Store, and there's also Firefox built in, which is kind of an interesting function. There's also YouTube over here, updaters, settings, and there's also Miracast, which allows you to wirelessly mirror the screen on your smartphone onto the TV. On the very bottom of the screen, you can also see some software keys I can tap on if I don't want to use the remote for going back home. I can also long hold on this to activate a Google Assistant if I want to use that. There is no built-in microphone for the remote though, so you would have to connect an external mic by USB to the TV box. And over here we also have our multitasking drawer, which I can use to get rid of apps if I'm no longer interested. There's also sound adjustments, a power key on the bottom, a screenshot key, and I can hide this tab when I don't want to see it. Or going over to games where we left off, there's also a few kind of quick shortcuts to stores, such as Matricom's own store and the Play Store for downloading more content. And there's also a live TV kind of page for Sling, Crackle, and other live services. Finally, under themes, I can change the wallpapers for the backgrounds and kind of play around with how the launcher looks before going back to home again. I can also tap on the search key here to bring up a search bar that will automatically search up specific apps, and that will also do a quick web search if I'm interested. As a whole, the system feels relatively snappy for general navigation, even when we have a few different programs open in the background. With that being said, there are, again, these sliding transitions between each of the panels, which takes a split second for it to smoothly come into view. It's not my favorite thing in the world, so I would, again, rather see there be an option to turn the transitions off, but the processor as a whole is actually respectable, very similar to the current generation Xiaomi Mi TV box. So it delivers in terms of performance and media streaming. So here's what's happening on some of these small icons will reveal a small panel on the right that pops up. It's less obtrusive than jumping directly into the regular page under settings. So this is a nice little software tweak that they've built on in that you can quickly access some of these things without having to leave the home page or whatever screen that you're currently on. The output resolution by default is at 1080p, but I can also play back 4K content without any issues. Same thing goes with 3D stereographic videos, both on YouTube and on the memory itself that you may want to load up. So you can see the interface here, very clean, oversized keys for changing the volume and skipping or scrubbing. Browser here, again it takes us, looks like, to Chrome directly. Just like with YouTube, browsing is swift and responsive. I can open up multiple tabs without the browser slowing down. Of course, you won't be doing too much, I think, browsing without having a remote connected, and using a tablet or phone still remains, I think, a more convenient experience, and that's just simply because navigating around remains a little bit tedious with a remote control without touch. However, it does work, and if you're giving presentations, you're reading back articles, or showing something to a friend or family member, it remains a powerful solution. So that's been our hands-on review of the Matricom Q3 Android TV box. As a whole, I think it performs quite well for streaming quick videos from YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, and the like. It's actually quite responsive in terms of general navigation, and the Wi-Fi reception also seems to be pretty good. The remote works well, and as a whole, it's a well-designed box. It isn't the most powerful one in terms of built-in RAM or processing package, so I wouldn't necessarily use this exclusively for gaming, but for some emulation titles, if you want to pair it with a slightly larger iPega controller, something like that, it can still work quite well. And again, it's a great way to complement an older television by making it slightly more modern. The price at $100 is a little bit steep compared to the competition, but you are paying for a slightly sleeker design in addition to licensing and warranty based in the US, as opposed to many other generic companies in China or Shenzhen that's much harder to get warranty on once you buy the unit. I would say the biggest competitors this would be something like the Amazon Fire Stick series or something like the Apple TV, but that one is more expensive. So you can check out more details in our article soon, but for now, this has just been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Matricom Q3.